Hello and welcome to our brand new show, Firstpost Spotlight, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I'm Alison Lagrange, live from Durban, South Africa. Let's begin with the top headlines. Britain distances itself from a proposal by French President Emmanuel Macron for a limited initial one-month ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. Israel blocks the entry of aid trucks into Gaza as the standoff over the ceasefire with Hamas escalates, saying hostages must be released for the ceasefire to continue. South Korea and Singapore join amphibious drill
Assemble the A-team, the ones who reach the top and then keep going. Go into uncharted territories, blur the lines between media and technology, and watch as you make...
And Honora sweeps the 97th Academy Awards in Los Angeles with 5 Oscars, including the Best Picture and Best Actress for Mikey Madison, while Adrian Brody took home the Best Actor Award for The Brutalist. Hello and welcome. We begin with the latest on the Russia-Ukraine war. In London, European leaders rallied behind Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky after his unprecedented public spat with US President Donald Trump. The Ukrainian president was welcomed with loud cheers as his convoy swept onto Downing Street. Zelensky was then embraced by the British Prime Minister, who called the pro-Ukraine chants a symbol of Europe's full backing for Kiev during the ongoing war with Russia.
Very, very welcome here in Downing Street. As you heard from the cheers on the street outside, you have full backing across the United Kingdom. And we stand with you, with Ukraine, for as long as it may take.
The scenes of collective European warmth for Ukraine's Zelensky stood in sharp contrast against last week's unprecedented showdown in the White House. While presenting a united front for Ukraine, the European leaders spent the Sunday deliberating upon a history-defining question. 80 years since the end of the Second World War, is the United States still at the heart of European security framework? In what was seen as a stunning indication of European consensus to reduce their dependence on the US, the UK Prime Minister Starmer said that Europe must do the heavy lifting to support Ukraine against a potential Russian aggression. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk reflected on European military strength and said that the continent's 2.6 million professional soldiers are more than the military strength of the US, China, or Russia. Polish Prime Minister added that Europe must immediately shore up its defenses to counter Russia's military potential.
We will not be able to effectively help Ukraine if we do not immediately take practical actions concerning our own defense capabilities. If Europe, and today it is not able to balance this military potential of Russia, then we must immediately make up for it, and only then we will really be able to support and not support. We will be as we have been doing so far, but we will provide real guarantees to Ukraine for the future. I do not have to convince anyone that for Poland, a sovereign and safe Ukraine with solid guarantees is a condition of our security.
Since Donald Trump's return to the White House, the United States has made it clear that its security guarantees come with a cost. For Ukraine, that cost is $500 billion mineral deal, while for America's NATO allies in Europe, that cost is increased contribution to bolster the US-led defense alliance's capabilities. With Trump's transactional geopolitics taking center stage, European leaders, for the first time in many decades, are calling to rearm Europe in what can be seen as a sign of division between the Trump-led US and Europe. The conversation has already shifted from what was Western security to the European security now.
Second element I brought to the table is that we urgently have to rearm Europe. We really have to step up massive the defense expenditure. And for that we need a clear, big plan from the European Union for the member states and of course for common European domains, like for example advanced air shields. We need a common European approach, but also the member states need more fiscal space to do a surge in defense.
After a Sunday of geopolitical contemplations in London, the focus now shifts to the scheduled March 6 meeting of European Union leaders, where a revamped formula to end the war in Ukraine, amid uncertainties over the nature of US security guarantees, is likely to shape up. As Trump-led US steps away from its erstwhile role of being the leader of the free world, Europe is now forced to step up for its defense. The continent remains at the heart of geopolitical uncertainty, introduced by the volatile nature of US President Donald Trump's policies. As Russian offense in Ukraine continues, has Europe's long-time security dependence on the US become its greatest geopolitical liability? Now, for our next story, let's take a look at a masterclass in political survival. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu seems to have cracked this code. He is known what works best for staying close to Donald Trump without ever landing in his bad books. And what's the technique? Unfiltered, unabashed, and strategic flattery. Listen to this.
During my recent visit to Washington, I said that Donald Trump is the greatest friend that Israel has ever had in the White House. And President Trump shows that friendship each and every day. He has shown it through his visionary plan for Gaza. This is a plan which Israel fully supports. He's shown it by sending us all the munitions that were being held up. This way, he's giving Israel the tools we need to finish the job against Iran's terror axis.
And there you heard him. Netanyahu didn't say Trump was one of the greatest friends. He called him the greatest friend Israel ever had. This isn't just about gratitude. Calling Trump the greatest ally is about reinforcing the belief that he has alone done more for Israel than any other US president. He is also crediting the American leader for Israel's thriving war efforts. Without Trump, Israel wouldn't have what it needs to fight Iran's proxies. When Netanyahu became the first foreign leader to meet Trump after his return to the White House, the same flattery played out.
I'm honored that you invited me to be the first foreign leader to visit the White House in your second term. This is a testament to your friendship and support for the Jewish state and the Jewish people. I've said this before, I'll say it again. You are the greatest friend Israel has ever had in the White House. And that's why the people of Israel have such enormous respect for you.
Back in 2016, he congratulated him on winning the presidential elections. Back then, Trump was a true friend.
President-elect Trump, my friend, congratulations on being elected President of the United States of America. You are a great friend of Israel. Over the years, you've expressed your support consistently, and I deeply appreciate it. I look forward to working with you to advance security, prosperity, and peace.
So from being a true friend to now the greatest friend, Netanyahu's compliment escalated for the better. From lauding his bold vision for Gaza to resettling him, Trump likes validation and Netanyahu knows it. So the strategy is say yes and avoid the wrath. This is something that Europe is struggling with. It is this playbook that they still have not mastered. While European leaders argue with Trump, Israel knows what will give them American backing. Recent transatlantic ties have seen a dramatic shift, With the distance between the US administration and its European allies growing wider. Just a few days ago, the United States refused to vote against a UN resolution condemning Russia's invasion of Ukraine. It was a major policy shift that left both the US and Europe at loggerheads. While countries like the UK, Germany, France wanted to hold Russia accountable, the US refused to support a UN resolution blaming Russia for the Ukraine war. Even when top US and Russian officials met in Saudi Arabia to work on a peace deal, Europe and Ukraine were completely sidelined. These are examples of frayed relations between the US and Europe. So the alliance is cracking, and the cracks are gradually surfacing. Trump has threatened to impose a 25% tariff on EU goods. NATO is also on thin ice, given Trump's repeated criticism over funding disputes. And the latest in this horror show was the brutal meeting between Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. While Trump splits with Europe, Netanyahu is sticking to the golden rule with the American leader. Because in Trump's world, you don't win by pushing back. Staying in the United States, reports say the Pentagon is temporarily halting cyber activities against Russia. It's part of a US restructuring plan where Washington is reassessing its activities against Moscow. US Defense Chief Pete Hegseth has reportedly ordered a pause on offensive cyber operations. But the Pentagon has refused to either confirm or deny the move. It is still not clear how long the pause will last or what exactly it entails. Asked about reports of the plan, a senior defense official stated, "Because of operational concerns, no information can be provided." The official also said Hegseth's first priority is the security of American forces, including those working in cyberspace. Now, this reported change in cyber policy arrives at a pivotal moment. President Donald Trump has been talking about direct negotiations between Russia and Ukraine to cease the Ukraine war. He is attempting to become the mediator between Zelensky and Putin. But in so doing, he has been keeping Kiev at bay and making Ukraine's future without Ukraine's consultation. European leaders and Ukraine have accused Russia of using cyber attacks and disinformation campaigns to weaken global support for Ukraine and to disrupt its war efforts. Despite these concerns, Trump appears to be focused on improving relations with Russia rather than confronting it. Late Sunday, on his social media platform Truth Social, Trump posted, "We should spend less time worrying about Putin." His message is nowhere near to the previous US stances that classified Russia as a leading cyber threat. In September of 2024, the US indicted 5 Russian military officers for suspected cyber attacks on Ukraine.
We are announcing a superseding indictment against 5 officers of the Russian military intelligence agency known as the GRU, as well as 1 civilian Russian cyber criminal for their campaign to conduct cyber intrusions. These defendants are responsible for carrying out the series of destructive computer attacks that are commonly referred to as the Whispergate campaign. This campaign targeted computers in Ukraine shortly before Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February of 2022. More generally, the indictment alleges conspiracies related to cyber intrusions targeting victims in the United States, in Ukraine, and elsewhere.
This operation, referred to as the Whispergate campaign, pursued damaging Ukraine's infrastructure. Is Trump aiming for a full reset with Russia? It remains to be seen how much he is willing to concede for peace. In our final story today, we shift our focus to Australia, where the hard-won stability in the ties between Canberra and Beijing is reverting to a familiar pattern of persistent tension. Less than a fortnight after Chinese warships came closest to Australia to show off their military strength, A fresh strain has emerged in the ties between the two countries. This latest geoeconomic tussle is about DeepSeek. Weeks after Australia became one of the first in the world to ban the Chinese AI chatbot on government devices, Beijing has come up with a warning. Its envoy to Canberra has said that Australian ban on the Chinese chatbot will politicize the trade and technology ties between the two countries. Decrying Australia's DeepSeek ban, Beijing said that such measures overstretch the concept of national security. But are Australians' national security concerns over DeepSeek use an overstretch? Now, according to Chinese AI company's own privacy policy, its servers are located in mainland China, and according to Chinese law, DeepSeek is under obligation to support, assist, and cooperate with intelligence agencies. This means that the data of DeepSeek users from anywhere in the world can potentially be accessed by the Chinese government whenever it wants. It's because of these data security concerns that DeepSeek has been partly or fully banned in Australia, Italy, Taiwan, South Korea, and the United States. The data security concerns are just the tip of the iceberg. The devil lies in the detailed description of the way DeepSeek functions. The Chinese chatbot disseminates highly censored information when a user asks it about topics that trouble Chinese authorities. DeepSeek's data security concerns, accompanied by typical Chinese communist censorship, have raised fresh debate on the democratization of technology. As Beijing calls upon Canberra to rethink DeepSeek ban, can these national security concerns be sidelined for contemporary compulsions of geoeconomy? And that's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to Firstpost.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12